celebrating Danny and his stories and what an unusual person he was, and one of the geniuses of 7-card stud. And he was just a terrific guy along all this. Most of the stuff that Eric and Mike and Barry said, I was thinking about myself. But my thoughts were, to keep things simple, was when Danny and Chip first came to town in the 70s, first of all, they didn't mention this, but they used to play 12 hours on and 12 hours off between the two of them. And the games would oftentimes go around the clock, and they were there all the time. You had to go through them to make any money, and it wasn't easy. So that's how they started. They made $1 million plus before they looked back, probably within the first year, and the rest is history. But they were great friends and terrific players. And even though Chip became maybe the most well-known, Danny in the area of 7 stud was second to none. He was what I would call a genius of 7-card stud, and he proved it. And one of the things he brought to town when he first came here that none of us had seen before is splitting pots. And he was the master of that beyond all masters. All of us learned from him and became proficient ourselves, but he was always the king. He always had the new wrinkle that nobody'd heard of, that maybe he hadn't heard of until he does it. He was such a quick thinking type person. So I'm going to just give a quick example on splitting pots, Danny style. First, I'm going to give you the simple thing that everybody knows about that isn't all that complicated, and then I'll give you the Danny version of splitting a pot. In this story, he has open aces. That's all he has. He gets called on the end. This is standard ABC, splitting a pot type stuff. He made a quick look at his last card. He knew that's all he had. He, of course, says to the unknown player that doesn't know Danny from who knows who. Danny, of course, tells the guy he's got aces up, he's got a 4 flush, he's got a straight flush draw, he's got this, he's got that. And he knows the guy called with just 2 pair. And Danny, of course, says to him, I've got all this, I know you made a flush, I'll split the pot with you, I've got a lot of outs against you, but I will split the pot even though I know you have me beat. Well, Danny really knows the guy just has 2 pair, which Danny has already looked at his last card, and that's all he's got, which is on board. So the guy thinks he's stealing from Danny and thinks he's making a real sharp move, and he splits the pot with Danny. But that's sort of standard split the pot stuff, as all of us sort of know. But now I remember one day that I was watching him, and again, he always had new wrinkles that nobody'd ever seen before. So now here he's against one of these unknown people that don't realize the type of quick-witted, sharp type poker player he is. And so he's betting along in this hand. And he knows the guy's a small pair, or Danny has nothing. No pair, no draw, no nothing. He just knows that he bets all the way and bets on the end. As long as the guy doesn't make 2 pair, he's going to win. And of course, we know he's an underdog to make 2 pairs, so Danny's got himself as a favorite as he bets his hand out. So on the end, he bets, and the guy calls. So now he knows he cannot win. Now the guy's got 2 pair, Danny's got no pair, no draw. Danny has made a quick look at his last card. He caught a queen, which made him queens. He turns the queen over, the guy doesn't know where the queen came from, doesn't know it's his last card. And Danny says, I've got queens, I got live cards, I got a good chance to win this pot from you. If you split the pot, I think you'd be making a good deal. And the guy split the pot. That's Danny Robison. Nobody would think of something like that, at least I wouldn't. And he had nothing. And he got a guy with 2 pair to split the pot with. He was the expert of splitting pots, and he taught all the top players, as I would see it, how to split pots, but he was always one step ahead of us. I remember one day in the dunes in the 80s, we were playing 150 and 3. And Danny was in the game and I was in the game. And We all have days where we win a lot of pots, we win a lot of money, we have our hot day. But I'll never forget this day. For about a 4-hour period, Danny never lost a pot. I mean, if he put more than $200 in his pot, he won every pot. Now that's impossible, but it wasn't with Danny. Besides having a good day where he won, say, 15 pots in a row normally, there was another 7 to 10 pots that he didn't have the best hand. Well, you know what happened on those pots. He only got half. And it was an amazing thing just to watch how he would invent a story, tell a story, make someone believe him, and they would say, well, just half the stuff he says are true. I have no win. And then they'd split with him thinking they're doing something with him, and they never even do the last card. He'd switch cards around, and he was just a genius of that. He was always spur of the moment, always a terrific way of doing it, and fast talking, where these people didn't have a chance with him. If he had been a lawyer or something else, he'd have been the best in the country, because his ability to think on his feet and talk was second to none. And as I remember, nobody ever got upset with him. They were happy to play with him and happy to deal with Danny Robison. They didn't know he was going to become the all-star he became.